Yeah, somebody wants to see that we're up there.
Let's see what's happening.
Cool. It says live over there.
It does. Okay. It takes a couple minutes to catch up. It always does.
Let's see what happened.
Oh, is Dwayne down there?
Yeah, he's already commented.
Commenting. Was Dwayne down there? Oh, we got the YouTube up.
Yeah.
Commenting.
We're echoing. Past tense.
All right, we're live now.
Dwayne down there? Oh, we got the YouTube up.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. Hey.
What's up?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening from the Night House. You usually kick these episodes off, Dee. You've got the flow of it. How about you give us a beautiful little intro?
Beautiful little intro.
Let me open my beer.
Welcome to Beer, Booze, and Boogeyman, episode, what is this, 8? 9? I think I've
I
lost
think it's
track.
8. I think it's 8 already.
I don't know. I just work here.
As you can see, we're not at our normal setting. We were actually at the Night House, and if you can see, conspicuous by their absence, Gil and Joey are not here. Unfortunately, due to all the rain and flooding, they cannot make it out of Asheville whatsoever. They have no power. They have no cell service. So it's me and Kristen, and we have special guest host, the owner of the Night House, Mr. Eric Freeman Sims. He's going to be joining in with us. This episode is going to be a little bit shorter than normal because we do have our investigation we're doing here in a couple of hours for our contributors of our Indiegogo campaign that helped get us here. And so, yeah, Kristen, what's up?
Not much, man. I'm excited about this investigation. I'm so bummed that Gil and Joey, or as you like to call them, Jill and Goey. I'm so bummed that they cannot be here for this because I know how hard we worked to get here and how much help we've received on all fronts to get here. And but yeah, my thoughts are with them, and I hope everything is okay. And I can't wait to talk to them again.
Right.
But yeah, it's surreal being in this house finally. And Mr. Eric gave us a tour today, and it's beyond what I thought it was going to be. Like he says, it's all kinds of levels, but when you walk through this house, it is all kinds of levels. Okay, there's doors to everywhere. It's a trip. It is such a trip. But yeah, and the trip over was chaotic and bumpy, and it's just been wet. Yeah, it's been an adventure.
It's been raining.
Hey, real quick in the chat, Air Force One, Dwayne, good to see you, bud. Michael, hey, I know you're tuning into the investigation a little bit later. Those links are coming to you soon.
Looks like my sister and my mom's joining in and watching too. So
hey,
Mom
Brittany.
and sister.
So yeah, to continue the tradition, let's introduce our drinks. We both got the same drink this go around in honor of Gil, since he can't be here. We've got some Voodoo Ranger. And the last time I tried Voodoo Ranger, I didn't like it because it was some kind of fruity Voodoo Ranger. So hopefully this one's better.
It's IPA. It's hoppy. Tastes like perfume in your mouth. I do not like IPAs.
Well, it is better than the first time I had it. So
beer snob.
So you don't got one, man.
This episode is going to be, like I said, a little bit shorter, and we are in the Night House, and this episode is titled Shadows of the Night House. So we're just going to kind of do a little mini interview with Eric about some of the paranormal stuff he's experienced since he's bought the house, 4 or 5 months ago now?
5 months now.
5 months ago.
Yeah, I think the 24th is 5 months. Yeah.
And
it's been nonstop activity since the day that he and Roger moved in, and it's just from day one. So
just since we've been here, we've heard a few little noises here and there too. So it's feel like it might be a pretty good night for those who join in later tonight with us.
I'm thinking so. I never like to call it ahead of time, but
Right.
just having been here for a couple hours, like yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's gonna be
Just
fun.
say that, yeah. So for tonight, Shadows of the Night.
Hold on.
House. Oh,
Jake's in the chat too, babe. My wife is in the other room, and our son just commented that he's checking it out too. So,
hey Jake.
hello, Jake.
Hey.
So yeah, Eric, just from day one, like what was like the very first thing like you personally experienced when you bought the house?
We got the keys after we signed the paperwork and come over here, and it's about 4:00 in the evening. And my husband and his parents and his aunt was our realtor. They had not seen the house.
Mhm.
We'd only seen the house once, so we came over here to actually explore the house. And when you're looking at it, buying a house, you don't really get to explore in all the nooks and the areas, and see different things. So I was actually in the bathroom, and I heard a knock on the door, and it was just one knock. And I said, I'll be out in a minute. And I come out, and they're like way across the house, the back of the other wing. Nobody's over here. And it was only like 10 seconds. It's not like one of them could have ran. I would have heard them.
So you would probably heard them run.
Yeah, come through the dining room here and go through the kitchen. So, no, they were all down there talking. So, I mean, that's a good 50, 75 feet
Right.
to the back of the house. So that was the first experience. And then that's not the only experience with knocking either. And this is like knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a little tap. This is
Right.
knuckles knocking. And that was just one knock on the bathroom door. And the doors are solid wood, so it's loud. But the audience can't see, across from us over here is a door that goes into what's going to be the modern kitchen. And we're in the dining room now. And my husband Roger was locking up one night. And he came out of there after locking the door down there. And he shut this door and latched it and went to walk away. And he heard 3 knocks. And he thought he locked one of us in there. Because this door has like an old hook latch on
Right.
the side. And so he popped his head back in there, and he could see through the window that me and my brother and my brother's girlfriend were out on the front lawn, and there was nobody in there.
Wow.
So he's like, okay, so shut the door and locked it back. So lots of knocking. And here lately, to continue with the knocking theme, we had a team in last weekend, and they asked me to investigate with them a little bit because they were not that experienced in investigating.
Right.
So we were up in the attic, and I did the shaving and haircut,
Mm-hmm.
waiting on the 2 knocks. Nothing happened. And then at 4:00 in the morning, there's 4 of them sitting up there in the guest suite right below the attic. And from the attic, they hear the 2 knocks
Oh
at
wow.
4:00 in the morning.
Whoa,
And I told them maybe it took them that long to figure out how to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So since then, this past week, I've been getting loud knocks in the parlor. Just one knock in the parlor. I think the cameras have caught that 3 times. That camera up there caught it. And alerted me.
Nice.
So the knocking continues. So that might be something y'all try tonight.
Right.
Because apparently they've learned how to knock where we can hear it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of snowballed. I've seen full body apparition on the steps, which I believe was Eliza Knight, which was the wife of
just
Joby Knight.
right through this
Yeah.
door right here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
there's
behind where my wife's sitting. So.
yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, she
behind
she
her.
smiled at me, so
Right.
it wasn't anything. We haven't had anything malevolent or anything in here. The house has been welcoming. That's what
Right.
everybody
Yeah,
says. Like
yeah,
you feel
yeah.
very
Definitely
welcome
feels
in the
that
house. Another interesting thing, I love when I have an experience and then it's, of course, it's validated by somebody else, especially when it's a personal experience. There's no evidence that it happened. It's just a story. Well, twice out in the front stairs, you can see through them, under them to the other side because they're just held up by the columns. And I was doing some landscaping stuff right there. Then I saw a guy in a white shirt walk on the other side of the opening on the side of the house. And just briefly saw that it was a guy in a white shirt. And so I walk around there to see if it's the neighbor looking for me. No, nobody's around there. No neighbors nowhere in sight. And that's how the house is open and flat.
Right.
So by the time I got up, I would have saw somebody. There was never from the hut. I saw it twice. I've seen that same thing twice. Well, then a couple weeks ago, I was sitting out there with my mother-in-law, and we're going to do some Christmas stuff with the Historical Society. So we have to plan out for the Christmas decorations. So we're out there talking about Christmas decorations at the front of the house. All of a sudden, in the middle of our conversation, she rudely leaves and walks down the steps to the other side of the house. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, Robin? Like, we're talking.
Right.
She comes back. She's like, I just saw a guy in a white shirt walk by there. She wanted to know what he was doing on her property.
Huh.
So she described the exact same thing that I've seen twice before.
Wow.
So it's not just the house, it's the grounds too.
Right.
While y'all were going to lunch earlier, I was out grilling lunch for us, and we were sitting on the side portico. It's the big porch with the big columns on the side of the house. And we were sitting out there eating, and Roger looked around me real quick, and I was like, what? He's like, I just saw somebody poke their head around the corner and look at us. So I got up and went out in front, and there's nowhere for anybody to go. I would have seen them. Well, I got up to see if it was the neighbor looking for something, you know. So he saw that earlier, middle of the daylight, broad daylight. We're talking like 1, 2 o'clock.
Right.
My father-in-law was down in there's a tunnel that goes across the house and comes out under the kitchen. My father-in-law was down there working on some plumbing, and he was in the house by himself, although he didn't know that at the time, but he heard what sounded like a male and female having a conversation, but he couldn't tell what they were saying, but it sounded like it's coming from like the basement. So he comes out of the crawl space and looking for us. Well, me and Roger and his mom were all outside. So, and we had been outside doing stuff, burning stuff and clearing stuff out there. So we hadn't even been in the house. So he heard a conversation between a man and a woman. What else? The first night that I ever slept here, my buddy Austin was here, and he was asleep in the one bedroom, and I was asleep in the master bedroom. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, I got jolted awake by a door slamming. And I was like, what, you know, we'd only been asleep maybe an hour. We've been investigating and hanging out. And when I woke up, I sat up in the bed, and then I heard like somebody shuffling around the room. And but that woke me up out of dead sleep. That was the first night I ever stayed here. Excuse me. And then I know it wasn't him because I looked over and he's asleep because I thought maybe he actually slept in the bathroom or something. So I've just been doing this so long, like, and spend the night at Thomas' house so many times. I'm just like, leave me alone. I'm going to sleep. So I rolled over and went back to sleep. But that was a rude awakening. It's not like a door slam. And in that same room on that camera, we've caught. I sent you a video this morning of what sounds like furniture moving.
Yeah, that was about 3:30 this morning. That happened. Yeah.
And there's nobody in the house. We've caught that multiple times in there. It's always in there. It sounds like furniture moving, door handle jiggling, door slamming, things like that.
You know, that may be the room me and Kelly sleep in tonight. So
yeah, you may get really awakened by them moving furniture,
right?
Or door slamming. I don't know. They wanted to get my attention for some reason, and they got it. But we were here Memorial Day putting together the big canopy bed that's in there. And that belonged to the Rogers family. And the bed is probably from the way it's put together in the timbers is probably from the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s. And we were here Memorial Day putting it together. We drug it out of the attic. It was just me and my husband. And we heard a lady's voice come from the parlor that said a full sentence, 5 or 6 words. Could not make out what she said, but it was a lady's voice. And it echoed. So I know it was in the house. Right. He could hear that reverb of the voice. And Roger looked at me, he's like, that had to be outside. I'm like, no, that was definitely in the house. Don't tell me, don't try to explain this away because you don't want nothing to do with the paranormal. That was in the house. It echoed, it reverbed. So those are some of the biggest experiences that I've had. There's always footsteps and things like that in the house and knocks and bangs. The piano key, had the camera on top of the piano, and it sounds like one of the lower keys was struck, and it even has a reverb of the piano key.
Wow.
The ghost parrot, what sounds like a parrot squawking or whistling in the bedroom, which the Rogers family did have a macaw parrot.
Of everything that may happen tonight, other than seeing an apparition, I think that's what I want to happen.
The ghost parrot.
That'll be pretty shocking.
It would be pretty. It'd be pretty rad.
I will say though, like if because a lot of investigators will say that, oh yeah, I heard footsteps, ooh, but if you have never experienced the phenomenon of hearing footsteps for yourself, I don't think you can truly realize just how crazy that is. Like I think one of the freakiest experiences I have ever had was in a haunted tombstone bordello, and I heard footsteps and sitting there fully expecting to see my friend come around the corner because I thought it was him, and to realize there is nobody there. I don't know what made that, like, to have that realization. That's a freaky moment. It can be. Yeah.
or
I'll go for some footsteps tonight.
or just hearing voices that you're trying to figure out where the fuck they're coming from, and you're like, who is in my house? And there's nobody in the house but you and your wife or your husband or your boyfriend, or whoever. And it's like, who is talking in the house? And you're searching, knowing there's nothing on, knowing it didn't come from the outside. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's especially when I'm here by myself and I know nobody else is in the house, to hear the footsteps, because I'm not looking for anybody coming in the corner.
Right.
Well, I am as an investigator, like, come on, because I got cameras everywhere, you know. But I'm not. I know nobody else is here,
right?
And I'm up here by myself all the time throughout the week, doing business stuff and working on stuff. So, but I've never been scared.
Yeah.
The only thing was being jolted awake by the door slamming. But yeah, there's stuff happens here every day, all day. We were talking about this earlier. That I don't know why, but you don't hear. I guess it's because people just don't pay attention during the day, or people are at work during the day. So you don't hear about a lot of stuff happening at locations during the day. And some of the locations I've stayed at for multiple days, like Tom's house, never really had anything happen during the day. But this place, it's 24/7.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. But we also talk to them like they're alive.
Right.
We tell them good morning when we come in, tell them good night. I've explained to them teams coming in, you know, that want to communicate with you.
And you know, that's a good thing too, to kind of let them know what's going on, and to know that you're not afraid to be here with them and stuff like that. And because this was originally their home before it was yours, so it's like you're a guest in their house,
right?
So it's like, why wouldn't you treat them like you're a guest in their house? Like treat them. Yeah, that's a really good way to do things. And
you know, they might have extra motivation too to make themselves known at any time. That you were telling us a story earlier today about before you had bought the house, getting the feeling or the realization that they wanted to tell their story, that it was time to do that. So that could be the extra motivation on their end.
Yeah, and I think that's been going on for a long time. The previous owner, he would not tell us. He denied that he had anything to happen paranormal wise to him. But he said, my wife had a lot happen. He didn't elaborate on that. And they live in California. But we talked to the neighbor over here. He's lived there for 20-something years. And he said the wife worked at home here. And almost daily, she was talking to them, telling them things that happened to her. So they were trying to communicate with her.
Right.
And I think it scared her though.
Yeah. Right. And so they've never really had anybody try to communicate with them until, you know, you guys bought it. And so now it's almost like they're excited to talk again.
Right. And that's the sense I've gotten, is that they want their story told, the history because I think with the Knights and even some with the Rogers family, their history, even though they're predominant people in town, socialites and all that, and also being attorneys and real estate people, they helped shape and mold this town for the 130 years between the two families out of the 200. You don't hear about them in town anymore.
Right.
Even though they had that influence when they were around. I mean, to have a family live for 80 years in the same house through all of their kids and all that, it's pretty crazy. And be as influential as the Knights were here. So yeah, I think I would want my story told too, especially when I know that I helped shape the town. Because Jamie Knight was a real estate mogul, so he bought and sold so many houses and property in this town that he definitely helped shape the town.
Right.
And as an attorney, he did somewhat practice law, so he, you know, there are cases that he defended people who needed defending and things like that. So I think that the history is definitely worth telling, and that's what they're doing it. They're learning to do it.
Right.
So y'all are the third team to investigate the house as of tonight. And so they slowly are learning the equipment. And like I was saying with the knocks, maybe they're learning how to knock to where we can hear it. Also, when my friends were here last Wednesday, we brought two friends up who hadn't been here yet last Wednesday evening, and we were up in the guest suite. And we were fixing to come downstairs, so we're standing at the top of the stairs. And I put this video up so anybody can go watch this. We heard a man's voice with our own ears. I looked at my friend Kayla and I said, "Did you hear that?" She said, "Yeah." And then Roger said he heard it. And then I caught the voice on the parlor camera. And but later on that night, and you can't tell what the voice is saying, it's kind of muddled, but you tell it's like a man's voice. It says maybe a couple words or two syllables. Well, later on that night, the camera went off again, another man's voice, but a little bit clearer.
Oh.
It wasn't as gruff and mumbled. You still can't tell what it was saying,
Yeah.
but you could tell it was two separate words.
Mhm.
So is this person practicing to actually talk out loud?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Trying to
Yeah,
get clearer
yeah.
and clearer.
It's almost like the more people spend in here, the more time they spend in here, the more energy they're able to build up, and they're slowly
Yeah.
getting their voice back. Yeah.
Right.
And I remember one of the very first things you posted on the Facebook page was of that mist
Oh, the coup de grace.
that just kind of formed and just floated across the room and just disappeared at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mhm.
And I remember you kind of explaining, we tried to figure it out. There was no logical explanation for it. It just appeared. It was kind of like it was almost somebody walking across the room.
Yeah.
It was exactly like that.
And it doesn't look like a mist or because I've had people say, well, that's just a humidifier. For one, we have a dehumidifier in the basement because of all the water issues.
Mhm.
It's the middle of the summer where we've had plenty of rain. You
Right.
definitely don't need a humidifier in here
Right.
like you do in the winter. And also, y'all seen upstairs.
Mhm.
There's nothing that puts out any
Uh-huh.
kind of anything that would make that whatever
Right.
you would call it smoky. It looks more like smoke
Mhm.
than it does like a mist because the way it flows.
Yeah.
But I've had people try to say, I'm like, I've tried to debunk this.
Yeah.
So many different ways.
Mhm.
And so has Roger and other people who've been in the house.
Mhm.
Everybody that's come in the house has commented on it and looked and said, how would you recreate this?
Right.
I even sent it to Brandon, my buddies, Brandon Alvis and the stuff. I got a lawyer from Honda Discoveries.
Mhm.
And they're like, we don't have a clue,
Right.
you know? But also the interesting thing about that video, like you said, it was 5:30 in the afternoon.
Mhm.
Sun is shining through the window. It's the middle of summer. So long days. The camera right before that thing flows through, mist, vapor, whatever, the camera turns to night vision because they're automatic night vision.
Mhm.
Right.
It's not dark outside.
Right.
And after that goes across the camera, it switches back to color. So did that, whatever that was, have some influence on the camera, or was it sucking light
Right.
out of the room?
Right. Yeah.
And so my friend John Curley, who's an awesome investigator, he had a good idea about that. He said, what if, you know how when we see shadows sometimes that are darker than dark?
Mhm.
Mhm.
He said, maybe it was sucking light out of the room. And then I got to thinking, well, like I'm wearing a black shirt, but if I go in front of one of the cameras tonight with the infrared on, it's going to look gray.
Right.
Mhm.
So what if it wasn't a white or grayish mist? It was black.
Right.
And that's why the
Yeah.
IR kicked on, because it was blocking out light, but because it switched to IR, it didn't look like it was blocking out light.
Mm.
So don't know, just a theory.
Something, yeah,
Something to
Interesting.
think about.
crazy
Yeah.
anomalous happened for sure.
Yeah.
That's undeniable. Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, I don't even know where to begin to even try to recreate that, to
Right.
kind of look.
Right.
And then the
right.
way, and one of the things that people have pointed out is that you look down the bottom of the screen at the very end, the big part of it comes, and it's in front of the dresser where the camera is. But if you look at the very end, it looks like down by the floor, it looks like a dress or something trailing in like feet.
Mm.
Oh.
Like some sort of form
Right.
at the very bottom,
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
in between the floor and the dresser. Yeah. And I've watched that.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah. Anybody tuning in, you take a look at the video. It's up on the nighthouseky.com.
Yep.
It's rather intriguing video, a
It
rather
is.
intriguing capture. I got to watch it again now and look for
Yeah,
the
that's what I was
flowing.
thinking. I don't think I noticed that, but now, yeah, I'm gonna have to.
That's
I'm gonna have
cool.
to check it out again.
Well, and I'm also the type of person, like, when I put anything out, I don't know. This is what I caught.
Mhm.
I can't explain it. I can't recreate
Right.
it.
Yeah.
There's nobody in the house. There's nothing to do that. I'm not going to tell you it's spirits because I don't know. None of us know.
And see, and what's interesting about the cameras you have here is they're motion and sound activated, so
Yeah.
they're not recording until it captures or hears something.
Right. Right.
So
It has to
like-
be something physical.
right. So
Yeah.
unless you had
Yeah.
something just right in the middle of the room that popped up something, like you would probably heard the if it was a humidifier, I'm sure you would have heard some kind of sound.
Yeah, a mechanical sound. Yeah.
So, and it's
Yeah.
just like it just appears and just like it walks across the room.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Something else that I found really intriguing with the stuff you put out is this right over here, or is it upstairs? Upstairs, with the doors closing and the chairs moving.
Yeah, in the parlor.
Yeah, that's really intriguing, and I like how you put out that time lapse video where it took 2 or 3 hours for the door to
Yeah.
close, but you can see that door just slowly closing,
Yeah.
and it's like what 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody here, and it's just slowly closing.
Yeah.
And you've had the chairs up there, knowing exactly where you put them when they come in a day or two later, and they're pushed all the way against the wall, and you know there's been nobody in the house.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, they're kind of like there's somebody here that's kind of a jokester.
Yeah.
That likes to just
Yeah.
play around. Like, I'm just going to move this out of the way for now.
Yeah.
You know,
Just having some fun.
Right.
Just a little fun with you.
The interesting thing about the door too, if you watch the time lapse where I shrunk it down from 2 hours to 30 seconds,
Mhm.
whatever, the door doesn't just close; it goes back and forth,
Mhm.
in inches, like an inchworm,
Mhm.
Yeah.
inches its weight. If that is something natural, like something explainable,
Mhm.
vibration, the air conditioner turning on, why does it go back and then forward?
right.
It would just go forward.
Hmm.
Also, if the door was off level, it would just go forward.
Hmm.
It wouldn't go back and forth.
Right.
But you can see it because I have that. It's like they're called Zevo bug lamp things that's
Mhm.
plugged in. That's the light that's down toward the floor in that video.
Mhm.
And you can see it blocks light out and then it opens back up, blocks light out and then brightens. And it inches back. It's crazy. It
And,
inches
and
back and forth until it
when you
closes.
first put up something about those doors moving, you kind of did like a live video or something up there talking about them. And you're like, this fan's blown, but these doors aren't light and they're not going to just
Yeah.
easily blow open or shut by just this, little tall fan. If something was going to blow it shut, it'd have to be multiple fans or one of those big industrial strength
Right.
fans. And you just had that one fan sitting there and you had it on, while you were shooting this video and those doors weren't moving.
It was blowing
Mhm.
toward them too.
Right.
They're pushing against that air
Mhm.
current to close, and that fan was full blast because it gets hot up there. So when the air conditioner's on, we turn the fan on to blow more air up there and to kind of get air circulating. So yeah, it stayed on, and the doors closed against the air current, which is counterintuitive. So I don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't know.
Somebody just kind of commented on the door part.
Mm.
They
Yeah.
said, I've seen a lot of unexplained stuff, but I'll be sure a door that closes over a 3-hour time period isn't a change in the magnetic field or moving air in the room. Well, we've already talked about the air in the room.
Yeah.
So, but you would think if it was some kind of shift in the magnetic field, it probably would occur more often.
Right.
At least that's what I would think anyway.
Since I caught that video, they haven't done it since. But before, they did it. The one on the right did it close twice on its own. I did not catch it on video. That's why I moved the camera.
Right.
And that's when I did the live. That's when I moved the camera to the piano
Mhm.
because it closed twice.
Mhm.
Well, then it never closed on camera.
Right.
It was the other one that closed on camera, and that one has since closed again. But I didn't go back and pull the video because I would already put the video up before.
Yeah.
My big thing is like I was talking about the fact that it inches back and inches forward.
Mhm.
Right.
And if you got to think, and this is just theorizing, I don't know if it's true or not, but if it's a spirit doing it, maybe they're having to gather the energy,
Right.
so it's some sort of push and
Mhm.
pull with it to get it to move. But like we're saying, it's also going against the full force of a
Mhm.
fan blowing
Right.
into that room.
And something you mentioned earlier while we were just kind of walking through and touring the house that I found pretty interesting is you mentioned that the house has been here so long, everything's pretty much unsettled.
Mhm.
So like there'd be no way like it would be the house settling and causing the door to shift or anything like that because like you
Right.
said, this house has been here for 200 years, so everything's pretty much set where it's going to sit.
Yeah. There should be
And-
no new movements or
Right.
Yeah.
developments
So
or
it's-
anything. Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll capture that tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You never know.
I am attracted to that parlor area. I will say I've got my personal favorite areas of the house. I,
Mhm.
of course, will leave it to the audience, our contributors who contributed to our RPG fund to let us know where they want to send us
Mhm.
when that investigation starts. But before we let you go here, I do have a question. Something I was thinking about earlier.
Yeah.
You've mentioned before there have been a lot of deaths and activities surrounding death taking place on the property.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? Like, go through that. Like, how many people have actually died on the property?
That you know of.
That you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
of.
yeah.
What, like, anything regarding that kind of activity, like wakes, anything like that having to do with that?
So pretty much back in the 1800s, all the wakes would have happened in the house. There was no such thing as a funeral parlor, and until the mid 1800s, there was no such thing as an undertaker.
Mhm.
Once they started embalming people, they actually would come to your house and embalm them on the kitchen table.
Mhm.
Dang.
So all the wakes through the Knight family would have happened here. Now the last 2 or 3 kids that died, excuse me, the last 2 or 3 Knight kids who died were in the 20s and 30s. So they very well could have had funerals, because you would have had funeral homes by then. But it was still a practice to do a wake in your home. And people still have wakes now in their houses.
Right.
It depends on their religious beliefs or whatever. So so you're talking about right there with the Knight family, you're talking at least 9 people there. And then you have the earlier people that lived here. We don't know who died of them. We don't have a whole lot of record of them, so there's no telling of that. Also, you had enslaved people here for the Knights and for the Waddell family, who owned it before the Knights and sold it to the Knights. They all had slaves, and there's no records kept of births, deaths, none of that.
Okay.
Until after the Civil War, they weren't even kept in on a census most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a couple of deaths down by the road that I found in a newspaper. One is a guy they believe he got thrown off his horse. He's pretty much dead there, but they took him into town and pronounced him dead in town. There's another guy who got shot to death, and his body was dumped out there up against the fence. And I'm thinking a body dump, like you put somebody in your trunk of your car and they go dump them on the back of a truck, a horse and buggy or the back of a horse. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not like they had forensics. You could have probably just left them wherever you shot them, unless it was your house. You know, then you just drag them out in the woods or something. Nobody's ever going to find them. So I just found that funny. It's like a Amish drive-by or something. You know, like a horse and buggy. Like you're not getting away that quickly from after you dump a dead body that you murdered, the person you murdered.
Oh.
So I found that interesting. But yeah, one of the Knights found. I had a Knight found the guy that got shot to death. And it doesn't say who. It just says it was found out in front of Charlie Knight's house. Was the guy who thrown off his horse? His horse got spooked or something. I think he got thrown off the horse.
Oh.
And you also said the basement had also been used as like a field hospital during the Civil War. So I mean, there could have been several that may have passed away in the basement that we may not even know about yet.
300 Confederate soldiers died of that disease, the blackpox pneumonia. They're all buried in a mass grave in Riverside Cemetery.
And there's no telling. I would say at least one of them probably passed away in this basement, if not more.
Probably a bunch of them.
And back then they didn't really keep a lot of records like that. So there's no telling how many people may have actually passed away in this house that we may never know about.
Right.
Yeah.
And that just kind of adds to the intrigue and the mystery of the place that you're just slowly like unraveling as you do more research into this place.
Yeah. Some of the more modern people I don't like to bring up just because they have relatives still living. I think it's kind of disrespectful.
Right.
Excuse me. I need a beer. Good Lord. I got a tickle in my throat. Now I don't have any drink from me. But yeah, like I've been looking through death certificates, and there are some other people who died in the house. But like I said, they're more modern people, so they still have family and stuff. So stay away from that and be respectful of those people and their family. But yeah, there's no telling on the grounds. I mean, they own 300 acres. So they had a lot of farmhands and stuff, as well as enslaved people. The most enslaved people they ever had that we know of was 15. Was the max we ever heard of. But you never know. I mean, back then, it's like the movie Million Ways to Die in the West. Everything could kill you back then because there's nothing that could save you.
Right.
So there's no telling. Like, I mean, we have poisonous snakes around here and things. So like, especially out working in the woods and the fields and things.
Right.
And they only farmed enough for their family, but they still had horses and all this other stuff. People get kicked by mules and horses and get killed and things like that. So there is no telling with those type of people. The lessers of society back then, the enslaved people, the farmhands, the poor people. Yeah, there's no telling. Because this house has been here so long, and the land other people own too.
Still
Right.
plenty left to learn
Yeah.
about the night
Mhm.
house.
And I'm still looking for juicy details like murders and things. I haven't found that other than the guy that was murdered and dumped.
Right.
Because I'm sure there's some people unalive themselves, and I'm sure there's
Yeah.
murders and
And,
things. I'm sure there's some more salacious stuff.
Yeah.
out here.
You'll find if anybody's gonna find it, it's you, Eric.
Right.
You've
I'm
done
doing-
some
I'm doing my
really cool
best. I'm doing my best.
I mean, but who knows? Maybe we'll discover something tonight.
Sure.
You never
And
know.
we'll
Yeah.
share it and leave
Yeah.
it behind with Eric.
And be like,
and-
this is what we discovered. You figure it out from here.
No.
But it's we're beyond honored to be here tonight, and everything you've done for us up until this point, and everything you're doing for us tonight, and beyond. It's just been amazing, and we appreciate everything you've done for us. And like I said, I wish Gil and Joey could have been here, and I know they're here in spirit with us, and
Hopefully not.
but
Hopefully
not that kind of spirit, but but I know when we lost contact with them, I was kind of like, damn, I was like, do we even continue doing this? But
Mhm.
then I got to thinking, I was like, well, Kristen's coming quite a long ways, and I don't want her just to sit in a hotel room for 4 days and this and that. I'm like,
Yeah, I was coming no matter what. I was
And
like,
I'm
I'm
like-
gonna get on this plane, be out of
Right.
contact. When I land, magic is going to happen.
Right.
Or else.
and so we know Gil and Joey would want us to go ahead and do this regardless.
Yeah, they would.
But one way or the other, we will get Gil and Joey here, come hell or high water. And
Yes, we will.
even if for some reason, say you and I can't make it here, we'll make sure they
Yeah.
get here to experience this place in one way or another. And but yeah, I think we should probably wrap it up. If we got an
Yeah,
investigation
We
starting pretty soon.
do have an
and,
investigation to start pretty soon. We've got
We
some
have a
more
lot to
prep
do.
work
We
to
do. We have a
get
little bit
done
of stuff
before
to
that
do, and
happens.
we got to grab some
Yes.
dinner and stuff like that.
Hey, River, just want to say hey to you in the chat. But anybody who is tuning into this very quick episode right now, who's going to be joining us for that investigation a little bit later, we are starting that at 9 p.m., I believe is the start time. We're going to wait till it gets nice and dark here, and we are nice and ready here to go ahead and start that. And then we will be starting the overnight investigation.
And also, I just want to say that anybody can come investigate at Night House.
Mhm.
So just go to the website. All the info is there. The price is dropping down to $500 for overnight
Mhm.
and $350 for half a night.
Nice.
So even if you just want to come for 7 to 3,
Mhm.
and then if you don't have a team and you want to come investigate, you can come investigate with me on the 3-hour mini ghost hunts for $100 for 4 people, and then you can add 2 more people for $25 a piece.
Right.
Mhm.
And
So-
like if you
And we do
do-
history tours too. Like it's all about the history as well, not just paranormal.
right, and of course, if you want to do like an overnight thing, you do have plenty of beds for people to sleep in. You have cots if somebody wants to sleep in the basement for whatever reason, or the pool table. You mentioned earlier, if somebody wants to throw up on the pool table, put a pillow and a blanket up there, and they can sleep on the pool table in the basement.
Well, I felt bad because the kid was going to sleep on the floor because he wanted to sleep down there with his friends who were sleeping on cots. I'm like, nah, sleep on the pool table. Let's go to the dirty basement floor.
And so,
Solid slate, you're not going to hurt it.
and he's got plenty of accommodations, plenty of snacks and drinks, and has working bathrooms and showers. Like it's a fully functional house, and it's not just like a lot of these places you can go investigate where it doesn't have electricity, or it may not have this or may not have that. This is a fully functional house, and which, in my opinion, kind of sets it above a lot of places. Because, like I said, a lot of these places, if they have electricity, it may be only in one room,
Right.
or they may not have heat or anything. And if you go in the wintertime, you're going to freeze to death. Or if you go in the summertime, they may not have air and you're going to roast to death. So this kind of has all of it, which I think is pretty neat, and definitely well worth the money.
Mhm.
Like I said, we haven't even been here and then actually investigated. We've heard some whispers, and I think some walking around and stuff. So
Mhm.
And I gave you the nickel tour.
yeah. So, but something I do want to mention before we forget, before we jump off here, this is going to be for the next few months anyway, our last Saturday episode.
That's true.
It is.
Oh yeah.
So I
Good
almost
thinking.
completely forgot about that. So I think it was Gil's idea,
Mhm.
since we're right at the beginning of football season. A lot of people, especially love college football.
Right.
We do our show normally on Saturday night, and a lot of the big games happen on Saturday night.
Yeah.
So he tossed out the idea, let's try to do it maybe in the middle of the week and just kind of see how it goes for a couple of months. So our next episode is going to be on a Wednesday, October 30th, the day
Yes.
before Halloween. And we're kind of bringing back Truth or Trash since YouTube kind of went down on us last time, and we only got one call that night. I think that was the Bigfoot
Oh
Dick
God,
call.
yes, the best call you could ever get.
Right.
And
I
yeah,
missed that one. I need to go back and watch that.
It
Sounds
was-
interesting.
It was so
even
interesting.
YouTube couldn't take it.
So it's going to be, trick or treat. It's pretty much going to be the same concept, but we're going to spin it to be, for Halloween, because it's going to be the night before Halloween, same time, same channel. But for the next couple of months, we're gonna run on Wednesday evenings, nights, whatever you want to call it, and at least until football season's over.
Yeah.
And because who's doing anything on a Wednesday night? So
Also, you don't want to go up against Tennessee and Alabama playing, because ain't nobody gonna be watching anything
Right.
you're doing. Not
So-
around here anyway.
exactly.
It's big old rivalries. Well, thank you. I try to be nice. I try to be a good person.
That's River. Thank you, River. All right.
right,
Well,
well-
if that is it,
I think that is it. I think we'll
take us out.
we will take us out. So I guess we'll do Gil.
We'll
and
just go
Joey's
back and
spots.
forth. I'll
Yep.
take Gil, you take Joey's,
Okay,
and that'll
so-
be it.
Until next time, here's a toast to the ghost in your hall
The Bigfoot hiding in your yard.
and the gray waiting for you to sleep. Is that it?
Yeah. And please listen responsibly.
Cheers.
Cheers.
October 30th, guys.
Good night, y'all.